I remember growing up in my little town in North Springs, and our vacation Bible school was always the week right after school got out. So you get all excited about school being out, 9 months of hard labor in school, and then vacation. And then mom says, and you have vacation Bible school next week. What? I just got done with school. It's only half days. You know what we did in vacation? Here's one. Why would anybody take a cottage cheese container, paint it with glue, and roll it in painted eggshells? Does that make sense? So we had to do this, and then you put 2 straws on either side, and then you made this little, a roof of some sort, and then so it was a well, looked like a well. And of course, which went around with woman in the well. But what do you do when you bring that home? Like, hey, Mom, here's my well. I can tell you what my mom would have said, but I can also tell you that if I would have been growing up in a different household, say the Peel household, that's my wife's maiden name, this is what Phyllis would have said. Oh, that's so beautiful. She would have said, not at my house. My mom would have said, oh. And then sometime during the course of the week, that wonderful eggshell thing would not be around anymore. Mind you, not that I would have necessarily cared, but I remember going to, VBS after that. How can you rejoice at VBS when you just completed nine years of hard labor in school? And then your VBS teacher hands you a workbook. That's what a workbook. Okay, look up this verse. And then this is worse. This is worse. And it was always women who brought the treats back then, I don't know. But some women thought that a treat was actually graham crackers. No, a treat wasn't. Now it's worse now, though. Some people think a treat is vegetables, raw vegetables and dip. You gotta have chocolate. And then this is what a VBS teacher would teach us. Now, I remember some of our VBS teachers, but never the music one. I don't know why the music one switched so often. I think I understand a little bit more now, because ours was during, right away in the morning. So from 8, it's probably 6:30 in the morning until noon. I'm not quite sure. And then, and this is, all right, we're going to learn a new song today. What is it? Okay, I'm going to teach you. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. All right, now everybody sing it. And we're, come on. Rejoice in the Lord. No, sing it. Be excited. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. And then she goes, okay, now we're going to have some extra fun. We're going to divide all of us up into 3, and we're going to sing it as a round at 6:30 in the morning. And singing, rejoice in the Lord, and it's ringing on you on all sides. I have never forgotten that VBS song in my life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Oh, I am not good at rejoicing. Or at least how my VBS teacher wanted us to remember, because she would want us to sing happy and be excited. And then if you weren't excited enough, okay, let's stand. You just must need to stand to get that excitement going. No. To get excitement going, you would say you can go home. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Now, really, there's somebody else who should be preaching this sermon, not me, and that would be my dearest wife. Because my dearest wife has a different approach to things on a consistent basis than I do. For instance, and by the way, I am not getting accustomed to having 2 worship services back to back with you people being able to talk to each other. This is not good. Sandy comes in, they're siding with me and not with you. They're paying me and not you. Actually, you pay both of us because it kind of ends up kind of being this. Anyway, Sandy is like this. So yesterday we're going to a wedding, and we're going, my side of the family's wedding, so it's in Iowa, northern Iowa, and we're going down 35. And 35, if you don't know, has a lot of construction, or did have a lot of construction around Lakeville. So much construction where it's this kind of construction, right? And so, and this is Sandy's driving, and she goes, "Oh, this is like a brand new road. Oh, isn't this nice to drive?" Because there was no construction going on. But this is what, a couple months before we were on that road, I knew which is why we were going to go, and construction. Oh, look at that person coming on. I am not going to let that person get over there. I'm going to, that one over there. Oh, that's me. Sandy would say something like this: "Oh, won't this be so nice when it's done?" Please. Right now it's crap. It's Saturday. They should be home. We should be able to drive 70-some. It'll be so nice when it's done. And we got a different vehicle. I don't like to wear seatbelts. Don't like it. And in the cars that we currently had, you get some annoying, it's like a ding, ding, ding. And I have learned to try to ignore those sounds. Sandy, however, is over there driving, and then eventually I'll say, "I am so sick of hearing ding, ding." And she said, "Honey, it's not going to change. Why don't you just go ahead and put on your seatbelt? You'll feel so much better." No, I won't feel better. I want the dinging to stop. I know. Just put that in. It's not that hard. Do you want me to help? Now you understand when I come to church and my doors are closed, you understand. Now Sandy gets this, I don't know if it's a genetic material that passed that on or not, but her mother, everything was beautiful. I mean, when Sandy's the firstborn, I think that when her mother changed her first diaper, she went, "Oh, beautiful." Who says this kind of stuff? Her mother did. Her mother, and this is her brother. Brother Dick, stand up. Yeah, they're visiting. Welcome, Dick. And he is no better than her. It is the same stuff from him. He's an insurance agent. If there's a tornado that would happen, he would say, "That's too bad, but I'm sure your next house will be beautiful." That's not, I didn't grow up that way, which is indicative of the wedding we went to yesterday. I went into the church yesterday, and I could tell that things were not going well. I went to the bride, and I said, "When does the happy start here?" And she said, "I think after the wedding." Now, I found out that there had been a lot of family tensions and stuff, which does sometimes happen in my family. Some. Abigail, why are you laughing? So Sandy and I grew up in very different kinds of households. And I was reminded about this sermon. Rejoice. Now I know last week I told you that was the last sermon. I just did that so you would have to come to this one, so you thought it was over with. So the first one was, renew? No. Reach. Oh yeah, an R-E. Reach. And then it was renew, and now it's rejoice. And remember why I told you I'm doing these sermons? Because the bishop says you have to. Now, the bishop isn't here, so I can do whatever I want to, but they're named the way that the bishop wants. But this rejoice in the Lord always. Do you know how annoying that is to have a song stick in your head that you don't want to have stick in your head? So I look up this word rejoice. Now, in English, we would think anything that starts with R-E, especially like rejoice or renew, or means again. R-E means again, right? So if you are going to remember, you are going to member it again. If you're going to go have some recreation or recreation, you are going to recreate. Rejoice. Is anyone here named Joyce? Yeah, we had one person named Joyce. I said, what does your name mean? She goes, I have no idea. So what does it mean to rejoice? Well, it's helpful at least for me, to look it back up in the Greek, which is what you paid me for. So I looked like in Greek, and it's karios, and it didn't have anything to do with again. It had to do with this word that has a lot to do with what I think growing up in the Midwest was like. I mean, there are some people in the Midwest, when you meet them, that will go, hi, how are you? How are you? And you know that they're not the person that you need to talk to very long, right? Because they're just too excited. But if you're growing up in a farming community like I did, and you're driving down the road, and if someone, especially a farmer, goes like this to you, that means that he has said hello. And your appropriate response is either this or this. And that means that you have embraced each other with the love of Christ. No. Well, I worked in a small town grocery store. So when people came through the door and you knew who they were, you'd say, hi, how's it going? And their response is supposed to be fine. Or if it's a little bit better, it could be good or great. No, not great. Stay away from people who said great. If they said, God forbid, not so good, you went like, I don't know what to say. I'm sure you'll be able to work it out. And then you leave, right? Because if someone didn't say what they're supposed to say, like good or fine, and they said not so good, or even if they said, well, okay, then you knew that they wanted to go into a longer conversation, and you knew that they weren't playing by the rules, right? The rule is, especially if you're a kid like this and you say, how's it going? All I really want you to say is good or fine. I don't want to hear anything more. And God says, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. But that word, karios, really means a whole spectrum of stuff. Anywhere from, oh, I'm doing fantastic, to, and I kind of like. Because that's what I'm accustomed to. And if I'm excited, I might go like this. And if I'm not excited and things aren't going well, I'm not going to share that with you unless I know you, or unless Sandy says this. Well, honey, if you just talk about it to me, I think you'll feel a lot better. Do you know how many times she has said that over the course of our marriage? Rejoice in the Lord always. Now, growing up as a little kid and hearing that song over and over and over in your head, I wanted to get a sense of where that comes from. Because I really thought that it meant that I had to be extremely joyful all the time. Rejoice, which would come to me with joy, and so that means be joyful all the time. And the only thing that I could think of joyful was joy to the world, which means Christmas, which means presents, and lots of candy that my grandmother made. And then that might make me feel happy, but it's not that way. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. Always. Which points me back to my dearest wife, who learned it from her mother. Her mother would say things. I mean, you could just even hint at something that you didn't like about somebody. And this is what Phyllis would say. Now remember, that's somebody's son. That's somebody's daughter. And that kind of puts that kind of squelches stuff real quick. You want them to say, yeah. Oh, yeah. But that Phyllis didn't do that kind of stuff. So what does that mean? Because for me, it's turmoil. Do I have to be this happy all the time? Because I'm just not. Well, I read the Bible. Anyone here read the Bible? Please say yes. Wonderful. Now, if you've read, I'm not asking you to read from Genesis to Revelation. That's a good thing. But even if you've just read a few verses or a few stories, you know that the Bible is full of all kinds of emotions. There are times when the people of God are not happy. There are times when the people of God shake their fist at God because they are so upset with God and with their situation. There are times when the people of God are crying. There are times when the people of God are depressed. There are times when the people of God are just living everyday, ordinary kind of stuff when this is perfectly a part of their life. Just, yep, hi, how's it going? And that word rejoice encompasses all those emotions. Because we're created in the image of God, right? Why did God create us in his image if he didn't mean to give us this whole range of emotions? We know that even God has gotten angry. We know that God rejoices. We know that God doesn't get angry at himself. That part I didn't get. But there are times when I ask God, I say, what is this? Why did you decide to have construction on 35W when you know I have to go down there? And God says, Randy, I am with you. Now, he doesn't promise that there aren't going to be times when the road is in construction. He doesn't promise that there'll be times when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you have this. And so in order to alleviate this, you need to do this, that, and the other thing. There's nothing in the Bible that says God's going to alleviate us from any kinds of trials or traumas. God doesn't say that. If you look carefully, especially Jesus, he says you can come to expect those kinds of things. Now, how many people want to sign up for a religion that says that? Well, I only do because of what God says aside from that. And God says aside from that is, I am with you. That word's Emmanuel. I am with you. And with me, you can do all things. It may not be your plan. Oh, don't I know that? You may not necessarily like the way that it unfolds. Oh, second that too. But I love you. And I desire nothing but good for you. Even when it doesn't seem like that is happening. Even when you're in the midst of that bubbling pit of tar, I'm there. I know what's going on, and believe me, I've got it under control. Now, a lot of people could have told us that someone has it under control, but God is the master of the universe. God is the one who created us in his image. God loves us like no one else can love us. And he says, rejoice always. And again, I say rejoice. Because I'm always with you. If you look to the book of Philippians, where this is from, Brother Paul, who writes this letter to the Philippians, is writing pretty much a letter of encouragement. We don't know, we have no idea what's going on in Philippi that's making this church anxious. Okay? They're clearly anxious about something. Paul has visited this church a number of different times. And although there are speculations about what might be going on in that church, it's not named in this letter. All that we know is that there's this encouragement from Brother Paul who says, you can get through this. And if there's anything that we need to know right now as people of God, is we need to look at that book of Philippians and say, that's a message to us. Because I can guarantee you that there hasn't been a time in your life, or won't be, when it feels like the toilet is flushing all around you and the scrubbing bubbles aren't working yet. And God says, even in the swirl of that, I am with you. He's in control. Rejoice in the Lord always. I have learned from my wife some things. It doesn't come first nature to me. It does to her. But I have learned that through all things, God is there, and he never leaves. And it's my prayer that if you don't know that now, that you can hear that sick little VBS song and remember to rejoice. And God's people said, let's stand and sing Christ for the World We Sing.